Okay, so we're now looking at question number 4 from the January 2024 Decision 1 Mathematics paper. And here we are given a precedence table and they want us to draw an activity network from this table. Now this example might have been a little bit confusing due to the use of dummy activities in here, and this is why you should always do this with a pencil, because we will be making a lot of mistakes. So to fix these mistakes, you will need to use a pencil so you can erase the mistakes that we're going to do, because pretty much you can avoid doing mistakes in drawing activity networks, drawing cascade and scheduling diagrams as well. These are pretty much do have some trial and error in them, so you need to use a pencil and an eraser. So anyways, before drawing the activity network, you should always label the activities that you're going to start from, and you also want to label the activities that you're going to end from. And how we do this is we look at the immediately preceding activities. As we can see here that A and B do not precede or are not predecessors, so we can tell that these points here are our starting activities. So we're going to start here. And for the finishing activities, we want to look at the end of the table. And we're going to consider these activities over here. And we want to check which activity does not appear as a preceding activity. So if we take a look at J does appear over here. But if you take a look at something like K appears nowhere in this table. L does not appear anywhere in this table. M does not appear anywhere in this table. So we can say that these 3 points over here, excluding J, are going to be our finishing activities, or where we want to finish. So condition before drawing the table, still we're not done. There's a way to pretty much identify the dummy activities that we are going to be drawing. So dummy activities are going to be needed when the predecessor or the immediately preceding activity is required in different combinations. So if we take a look over here, we have B showing up once, twice, and 3 times. So we know that we're going to have to use a dummy activity to link between those different activities. And the only way to do that is using a dummy activity. So the way I think of it is, I go from B and I want to draw a dummy activity that connects me to the end of A. And the same thing appears in here in G. We have G showing up here, and it's going to show up in here and here. And we also have a different combination. I'm going to use a different color. We just use a highlighter instead. We have I, G, and I showing up in here. And we also have G showing up here, here, and here. So we're going to use about 2 dummy activities in here to link these. So the same process, we're going to connect G from here. We're going to think of it as connecting it to the back of H. The same thing here, the GI can also be connected to the back of H. So let's just start by drawing the dummy activities. This doesn't always have to be the case. It can be different, but this is just going to give us this will give us a rough idea on what the dummy activities are going to look like. So let's start by drawing the dummy activities here. I've labeled my source node and my sink node. So let's just go. We said that A and B are going to be our starting activities, so we can start by drawing these out. This one is going to be A. And this one is going to be B. Now, if we go back to the table, we did A, we did B, now C, D, and E. So E comes straight out of B, so let's just do E first. Should always label that. There's a node over here. So this one should be E. And then we have A. We have C and D coming out of A and B, and that's what I meant. We're going to take a dummy activity from B and we're going to connect it to A. So if we go back here, we're going to draw a dummy activity coming out of B all the way up here. And now A and B are connected. So if I draw 2 nodes, or 2 activities coming from A, let me just fix this. So we can do something like this as well. So this one is going to be C, and this one can be D. Now let's go back to the table. We've done C, D, and E. Now we have F. F needs C, D, E together. So since C and D are going in different directions, we need to connect them again. And the only way you can do that is using another dummy activity. So let's just start by connecting C and D together. Most of the times you want to connect the other activities with a dummy activity to the middle activity over here, which is going to be D. That's not the case most of the time, all the times, but it is the case most of the time. So we said that we had DE. Well, we can maybe avoid using a dummy if we just erase E. We actually make E start by going in this direction instead, so we don't have to use a dummy activity, as the question asks us to use the least number of dummy activities. So now that we have C, D, and E all together, we can draw F coming out of D. So now we have C, D, and E making up F. So now we're done with activity F. We can look at activity G. Activity G is coming straight out of activity F. So let me draw that. This one is going to be activity G. So we're done with G. H depends on B, so we can draw H. It's a straight line coming from here. This one is going to be H. So now we're done with H. And I depends on F, and J depends on F as well. So let's go down here. So we had I coming out of F, and we also had J coming out of F. So let me label these I, and this one was F, I think, J? Yeah, J. Okay, now let's go back. We did I and J. Now we want to do K. Let me just clean this up. Okay, so now we have K, which comes out of G. So let me bring the source node a little bit closer. The sync node, I mean. Okay, so let's continue. Now we know that these three are ending vertices, or ending activities, I mean, not vertices. So K should be somehow connecting to G, and I think we're going to have to erase something out. So this is going to look like this. I think there's something wrong in here. So this is supposed to be K coming out of G. And then we have out of I. We said that we had a dummy here, right? Let me think. So I can connect I. Actually, I think it's better if I erase this. So I can use the dummy activity that links between G and I. So I can do this. Now this one is G. And since this one is G, we can label this one as I. We can have a dummy activity coming down here. And we also have another dummy activity coming down here. Wait, J and H together, right? Yeah. So, okay, so I have an idea. We can maybe make this a little bit longer. Somewhere here. And we can take J, and we can make this also longer, so these two connect. And then from here, we can draw our L. L dependent on G, H, I, and J. So we can also, since we already have a dummy activity that connects G and I together over here, we can use that same dummy activity to connect it to J here. So now we're going to have G, I, J, and H all together. So we can make our L. So just connect a dummy activity. And then we can have L. as activity L. So we did L, now we need to do K. K is going to be this one. And then we need activity M, which depends on G and I. So if we draw a straight line like this, and like this, I'll label it. Which one was that? This one was M, and this one was K. And this is it for the network diagram. Let me just put it here. A little bit cleaner. Yep. This can be drawn in multiple ways, but I think this is not the best way, but it does the job. It's pretty clean. And let's go to part B from this question. It says, given that the activity network contains only one critical path and activity E is on this critical path, state which activities could never be critical, which activities must be critical. So let's just start with the ones that must be critical, because those ones are easier to identify. You can do this by looking at the table or by looking at the network itself. So let me just look at the network here. So given that E, where's E? Okay, yeah. So this one is a critical activity. So we want to know which activities must be critical. So any activities that make E, so we have B, only B makes E. So B must be critical. So let me write B. And we also have F, because F depends on E. Without E, F is never going to happen. Now we cannot say G, I, or J, because one of these is going to be critical and the others are not going to be critical, and we do not have enough information to make out which one's going to be critical and which ones are not going to be critical. As the question already says, must be critical. So F is guaranteed to be a critical activity. So for now, we only have B and F. They must be critical. So for the ones that must not be critical or cannot be critical are going to be the activities that do not have anything to do with these activities, A with B and F. So for B and F, A has nothing to do with it. Well, C has nothing to do with it. And D has nothing to do with it. And H has nothing to do with it. So those are the activities that can never be critical. So A, B, wait, not B, A, D. I don't know why I say B. Sorry. B is critical. B is a critical activity. Then we said A, C, D. A, C, D, and H. So those are the ones that can never be critical. So this is it for question number 4. And now we can go to question number 5.